Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Michael Malice here, and let that be your welcome for the next hour. This is a show that has been a long time coming. I am very, very happy that we have the co-hosts of Mornin on Compound Media, Bill Schulz and Joanne Nosuchinsky, who are also Red Eye alums, who I had admired from afar. Bill, you were there from the start.
I was. I think it was 2007?
And then
End of 2007.
Then you and Fox parted ways, and Joanne was your lovely
Amicably.
replacement.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I was just arguing with Bill before we got started, and I was saying that you have a warped self-image because I think you are one of my comedy heroes. And
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
I'm not at all. I don't think I've ever told someone they're my hero unless I was telling them to an hero, which is 4chan for kill yourself.
Yeah, or if they're dying and you're like, they need a little pick-me-up before they go.
I hosted a panel over the weekend. And one of the things I talked about, which I'm sure you guys have seen in your careers, is when you're on Twitter or you're on TV or whatever, you're putting content out there, it's hard to understand the people actually consuming it. So I've had like literally 5 people tell me that I'm going through chemo or I have cancer, and I read your Twitter feed to cheer me up. And the point I made is I had to block them because it's so fucking depressing. But you have this disconnect, and I think this is what I was talking about with you. You have this complete disconnect that you brought the Pee Wee Herman element to Fox. It was you.
Well, then that means I'm just a plagiarist.
He stole it from Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman's special was Pee Wee's Playhouse before his
That's
Playhouse.
very true. He took the entire audience out to get milk and cookies afterwards and stood by his word. And well, I like that's also why I was like, back in the day, like, after Letterman left and Conan came on, I remember I was in from the beginning because Conan rightly knew that he couldn't be Letterman, couldn't do the same thing as Letterman. And so he in and of himself sort of took that sort of Pee-wee's, almost Kaufman type element to his show with lots of puppets, lots of weird, just very surreal sketches that weren't political or anything like that. He just sort of lived in his own little world. And with Red Eye, we were allowed to do that because we were on so late. No one cared anyway. So we could get away with stuff like that, talking newspapers and crap like that.
Were you like me in that when I was growing up, if you had this certain sense of humor, people would think you're weird and didn't know what to make of you, right? But then they see you on TV and it's like, oh my God, you're so original creative. It's like, I haven't changed. It's that now that you're on this box, you now have the social permission to regard what I'm saying as interesting.
Yeah, and, you've got a brain, me a little less so, but I do find also that you start relying on regular guests because they sort of get it, and so that they can kind of fall into it really quickly, whereas others that come on for, say, the first time and maybe don't really understand exactly what you're saying or the point you're trying to make, if you're even making a point, it's a little more difficult. It's hard to play ball when it's new people.
There are 2 segments I want to ask you about particularly. Thanks to Red Eye, I learned about my favorite comedian of all time, Neil Hamburger.
Oh God!
Who's Tony Clifton's character made into stand-up?
Without a doubt.
How did you guys get him on the show?
That was, I believe, and I could be wrong. The guy that played Neil Hamburger, whose name escapes me, but he's on
Greg
everything.
Turkington.
Great, thank you. He lived in Greg Gutfeld's building, I believe.
Oh,
yeah, as did Jim Norton.
Oh,
that's how Jim Norton first came on. Was that they were sharing a building, and it was one of those
I thought
things.
you were going to say a bathroom.
That's quite
they
a bacchanal.
Sharing a bathroom.
It might have been that too. And they became buddies, and we started having him come on as Neil Hamburger and talk about something that was a slow burn. I mean, no one in the crew knew what was going on. No one knew if that was actually what he was like. It's hard to explain Neil Hamburger, and you just really have to let Neil Hamburger bathe over you, even though Neil Hamburger in of himself does not bathe. But
I remember his jokes on Red Eye because I watched them on YouTube, and there was one bit he did. He's like, Kevin Federline has this new role in this movie. He goes, he's going to be playing a fire hydrant, but the producer was so impressed that they've upgraded his role to a wheelbarrow. And Greg, I guess prompted, says, do you see other roles for Mr. Federline in the future? Goes, well, what I'd like to see him play is an overdose victim, but that would be on a reality show. And I'm like, the fact that this is on Fox, that he's talking about some guy ODing.
Yeah.
I was like, holy. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about, and these clips are on YouTube, you were the one who wrote the Patty Ann Brown intros
Yes.
for Red Eye. Can you describe what those were and what the idea was? Because those, I think, are still some of the best YouTube videos out there.
Well, Patty Ann was I don't want to say a rough fit because she's a total sweetheart, but like it was hard for her to find her place on Red Eye
She's
initially.
square.
Huh? Yeah,
square.
exactly.
And that's fine.
She is, if you were to look up pretty white girl cliched East Coast type deal in the dictionary, it would be Patty Ann Brown.
Like a wasp, but nicer.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Midwest.
Exactly.
I think she's got a more Midwest sensibility. She's not doesn't have this hardness to her.
She's
Yes,
not hard,
and she's just an absolute sweetheart. So we just decided to make her the notorious PAB and give her just really the most graphic, and then we sort of played off of it, like NWA lyrics and stuff like that to say as an intro. And it was just a lot of her with her gin and juice and smoking joints and putting a cap in people's asses. And she would do it with such sincerity and really would try to sell it.
Bondage enthusiast Patty Ann Brown was on Fox. She introduced herself, as the Lady Meow Meow.
And the Lady Meow Meow, that was one of my favorites, and just she just took it so seriously. And boy, the only brutal thing about those was that was about 20 takes. I mean, she's obviously a great prompter reader because it's part of what you do at Fox, but those were difficult to read on the prompter. So that was, thank God we were live to tape rather than just live, because that allowed her to ease into the role of notorious PAB.
Oh, that ruins it a little for me.
Oh,
she's so smooth with it. I thought it was live.
I feel like I've torn the
of the
curtain
trade.
over, yeah. But you know what? I would say that towards the end that she would do it on one. She was a one-take wonder by the end of it, and just a wonder period.
So you left Fox to become an actress.
I did, yeah.
What's the acting scene like in New York versus LA?
You know what? I would say 10 years ago, more options were in LA. But now with sort of new streaming services like Netflix, Hulu doing original shows, Amazon Prime, all of these new companies want to film wherever there's tax breaks. And that a lot of that is on the East Coast. Also, a lot of LA casting directors and directors view New York actors as more educated, better workers, having more clout. So I would say both are hard if you're on either coast to find work. But I think if you want to be taken a little more seriously, East Coast is where it's at.
Oh, so there's more cred here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even for commercial work, even if it's shooting in LA, they'll look for New York actors because they know that they have training and they'll be good on set.
What was it like for you going out for auditions, being on TV all the time, but you're also being on Fox, which has a stigma in New York?
So when I was at Fox, I was not auditioning because I worked 40 hours a week and just time-wise it didn't work out. I did do a little theater gig when I was there, but for film and television, I believe I do have it on my resume that I worked at Fox News. It might say FNC. Okay. Because people might not know what that means.
Sure.
But I have been in acting classes when casting directors have brought up, oh, Fox News or, oh, these conservatives. And it's tough because if someone brings it up off of my resume, they're like, what was that like working there? And I'm like, oh, well, the shows I worked on, it was satire-based. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry you only see the clips that Trevor Noah shows. Yeah. But there is other programming on the network. Not really anymore now. I mean, Gutfeld show is still on the weekend, but like with Red Eye, it's on at 3 a.m. So the majority of people hadn't seen it.
And the issue you spoke about most strongly, most frequently was the drinking of wine.
Wait, what do you mean?
Drinking of wine. That was your big issue. It wasn't abortion. It wasn't tax cuts. It's like, I like wine.
Oh, yeah. Like the things I would talk about. You know, I'm not a huge politico.
Right.
When I first got the job, I was like, I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. I'm not an expert in journalism, broadcast journalism, politics.
I don't know how to read.
Science, nothing. So I would just talk about things I know. I liked using metaphors a lot.
Yes.
That's always fun.
And what was your catchphrase?
let the market decide.
Yeah,
Because-
there's a supercut I think of this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Because again, I don't actually know what that means. I think I stole that phrase from Andy Levy, and it worked for me. A few times I was on Fox Business. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing on Fox Business? I remember one time I was on Charles Payne's show. Does he still work there?
Yeah, he got acquitted.
I blanked out. I was not focused. Something happened. And then he goes to me and he goes, Joanne, what do you think? So I saw on the prompter, there was something that said like diversify. And I was like, I mean, you got to be aggressive and diversify those assets. And he was like, you're exactly right. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
So you obviously have a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
What are you more of a dramatic actress, comedy actress? What would be your dream role?
Dream role is the sexy, funny girl next door.
Okay.
The fact that Kaylee Cuoco makes $1 million an episode for Big Bang Theory disgusts me.
Who is she? She the blonde?
She's the blonde.
She's not attractive. Okay, you triggered me. Big Bang Theory, the blonde. The idea that she's out of the league of these dudes is completely false. She's like a TV 8. She's a real life 5. She's obnoxious as fuck from the commercials I've seen.
I'm so happy you're saying this and I don't have to.
No, am I wrong?
You are nodding.
No. Like neither of those. Okay, both of those guys. I've never seen the show because I've tried to watch it. I'm like, maybe I'm being prejudiced, and I'm like, these aren't jokes. What are they responding to? It's like some kind of Pavlovian thing. But the thing is, she's not that hot. She's a bitch. And it's like, what's wrong with these guys? They're nerds, but they're smart and good-hearted. They're not particularly ugly. Mm-hmm. So they dress fine. What is the problem here, bitch?
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever actually seen an entire Big Bang Theory, the entire program all the way through.
Great thing to watch if you have some time. Google Big Bang Theory no laugh track.
Yeah, and Friends too. But the Friends stuff is actually funny.
It's not funny.
Right.
It's absurd. But no, I mean, I would love to do sitcoms like that. The Sexy Funny Girl Next Door, a lot of that, the 3-camera sitcoms, those do shoot in LA. And I find that my agents send me out mostly for primetime dramas, which, you know, I have a degree in theater. I'm not scared of serious roles. I can cry if necessary. So.
Well, yeah, every morning with Bill.
Yeah.
I saw that coming from Jupiter, and it's accurate as well. She is a great actress.
Here's the thing with you. We talked about this during the Arduous March. Mm-hmm. So Joanne is that unicorn because you were Miss New York, so you're a beauty queen, literally. But you also used to have a back brace. So you know what it's like not to be the hot girl. So you don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
So that means you know how to talk to people. And you also see how do people treat you then versus how people treat you now?
Maybe a little different. I'll give an example. The restaurant that I work at, that I bartend at, like 2 shifts a week.
Stop putting on airs.
The general manager found out that I was Miss New York and was on TV and like didn't know this for like 6 months of working with me. Someone told him and he Googled me. And now he treats me very differently.
Wow.
He'll always be like, you're famous whenever he sees me. And it's now been like 6 more months that he's been saying this. But I'm like, hey, if it means he takes out the trash for me, I'm fine with that.
Do you mean Bill?
Yeah.
That's the other thing is when people tell me, oh, you're famous, like if I'm famous, you'd have heard of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other ones who are like, oh, you're a nobody. It's like, okay, just because someone hasn't heard of me doesn't mean I'm a nobody either.
Well, and it's funny, to your point, when we were watching the Queens of Compound, which was
really
great.
funny.
I remember you and I were sitting together, and A-Marie Castillo, she's very funny. She's on her show a lot. She and Joanne were sort of co-hosting the event, and she immediately latched onto the whole thing about, you're this pretty little former beauty queen, so you've never had it rough at all in your life. And after a while, and it was funny for a point, but after a while, I wanted to yell out, she had a back brace. Like,
I think you did yell that out.
I think I did, probably.
And
Thanks,
you kept
Whiskey.
yelling, interview Joanne.
No, that was Malice's show.
That's happening now.
No, but the other thing is, like, even though I had the back brace I'm not self-deprecating. That's the other thing about my humor.
Yeah, that's true.
No, you are self-deprecating. If someone makes fun of you, you know to go with it. That's the
I'll
comedic
agree.
instinct.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I am never the one to initiate,
Okay.
oh, I'm so ugly, because I know that's not true.
I love this
She
so
has eyes.
Or
I love you so much.
I'm not funny, because that's not true. Do you know, like, I hate when people do that, because
It
are
is
you
refreshing.
fishing for compliments? What are you doing?
I'm not going to lie.
I own a mirror.
And I just think that if you're intelligent, you can find other ways to find the funny as opposed to it always just being about yourself.
Does that get old? Because you don't carry yourself like a beauty queen, right? And this is a title from years ago. I mean, I think you're more as an actress than some kind of pageant person.
Well, yeah, because I entered the pageant and won that one and then went to Miss USA. It all took place in a year for me. I wasn't trying time after time to win this crown. I was truly just opportunistic. I just wanted more exposure, a greater following, and more opportunities.
And a credential.
Career.
That's a great credential. Yeah. It's like I had Kristen Haglund on the show. She won Miss America. It was like her third pageant. And I'm just like that at that point. But the thing is, you can keep your sanity because you're not coming from this culture. And I'm sure all the other girls hated her for it. It's just like, what the fuck? You didn't pay your dues.
The hate I got when I won.
You got hate?
Well, when I won Miss New York, because I was an unknown, same hate I got when I joined Fox.
Wow.
So it really helped. It prepared me. All these haters. It's like, yeah, you don't know me. And nobody likes change or a new face. I get that. But what I have found, people grow to love me. They do.
She talked me down off a ledge, and she didn't need to do that. And I've brought this up many times. I will always feel grateful for this.
What? I do not know this story.
This was years ago, right?
This was years ago. I think every industry we all work in is very cold. People are worried about their own shit. They should be worried about their own shit. No one else is going to be worried about it.
Yep.
They have to. I get it. And I did my second or first red eye, and it did not go well. And Tom Shalhoub yelled at me on the show. And she gave me this pep talk over Twitter. I'm like, I don't know this broad. I'm no one to her. There's how many people go through that chair, and I will never forget it. And I always try to make it a point also, same thing, to go out of my way to try to be kind. Actually, that backfired once. I've never told this story before. There was a guy that Matt Hughes, the UFC fighter I co-authored his book, was training for his show, The Ultimate Fighter. And me and his sister got along. I met her when we did a book tour. And she sent me an email. I'm like, bitch, are you serious? And then he lost this big fight, and I sent him this nice message. And he's like, did you call my sister a bitch? And I was just like, he didn't know it was a colloquialism. And he was all offended. And I'm just like, all right. And he's nobody now. But so I guess I don't know where the story's going with that.
Well, I'm just blown away that Tom Shalhoub yelled at anyone. What do you remember what the crux of it was?
I do, because we were talking about dating apps. And Nomiki Konst, who was my guest here like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Who is now running for...
Who lost. She came in eighth. She came in eighth. I found her on Hinge. I had seen her on the dating app that morning, and I pulled up my phone. I go, look, I just found your profile. And Tom goes, can the panelists not talk to each other? And I was just like, okay. I thought to myself, I would think it'd be a cool TV moment that, hey, we're talking about apps, and I just saw your profile. And he was not having it.
Oh,
but it was like his first week, so I think he was nervous.
He had a lot of...
And me and Tom get along extremely well now, but it was very jarring to be scolded live on television.
Well,
I may have killed his family.
Your instincts were good because that should have been something that was explored. And also, where would we be without Gino's Bumble app that we randomly throw on the show? Gino Bisconti, I should say.
Dating stories are always the best ones. Dating app stories.
But I thought it was very weird to me. So.
It sounds like first week jitters from Shalhoub's end.
Yeah, or even sometimes it's like you don't know what he's hearing in his ear from the producer. Like, get Malice to shut up. You know what I mean? Like, it could be anything.
Sure. I've only had the producer in my ear once, and that was when Luis J. Gomez ruined the last episode of
We were just
Red
talking
Eye.
about that.
Yeah.
Because he was making a joke that Asians don't have souls, and it was me, Kumia, Kristen Tate, and and Lewis, all of whom have been guests on my show, and of course, everyone having a comedy background, we all just went with it and one-upped it. And then they're like, can you please stop saying Asians don't have souls? And like, we had to cut the whole episode. Never aired, but it was very funny.
But that's such a shame to the fans, though.
Yeah, no.
Well, that's because also that night Trump bombed Syria.
Oh. That's a shame for the Syrians.
Yeah, exactly.
Let the market decide.
Let the market decide.
I feel like the Asians should diversify as far as their emerging market mutual funds. Exactly.
Aggressive.
Bill, if you could go back in time, I've got a lot of weirdos who listen to this show, and I love the weird people.
My people.
Yeah.
Literally.
What advice do you give to the young kids who have that weird sense of humor, who everyone ostracizes?
My whole thing is, I don't necessarily know if weird is what it was when you and I were growing up. I think
it was
now,
worse than weird. It was worse than weird.
But people were more ostracized, I think, when we were young for being different than they are now. Now it's like, my brother would always say this, and I'm sure he's not the first person, but like he always hated the people that when someone would say, "You're weird," they go, "Thank you." Like, they try.
That's try hard.
It's terrible stuff. But now I think that it's gotten to, I mean, I don't know if it's like an anti-bullying thing or what it is, but now, like, the quirkier and weirder or whatever you are, the more that's embraced. When I was growing up, it certainly wasn't. I feel like that's different now. As far as advice is concerned, stay away from the Jameson. That's my big advice.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly, yes. Mm-hmm. And maybe don't smoke either. It's bad for you kids.
Want to tell you guys about the Free State Project, a project that is very near and dear to my heart. If you go to fsp.org, freestateproject.org/join, you'll learn more about the Free State Project. What is the Free State Project? It is the biggest application of living liberty in America. It was a historic mass migration of 20,000 people who pledged to move to New Hampshire for liberty. Already over 4,000 have done so. The premise is by concentrating their numbers in a single low population state, you maximize their impact as activists, as entrepreneurs, as community builders. If you go to fsp.org/join, you can learn more about it. I'm sure a lot of you live in communities where no one thinks like you do. You're the extremist. You're the odd one out. If you go to fsp.org/join, you can learn more about making that pledge, moving to the Free State, and living the principles of liberty. There's a lot of good information out there. They sponsor PorkFest, where I've spoken at. So fsp.org/join. So you're friends with Ann Coulter, who has said many times she would do the show and never follows through.
She's rarely in New York.
So that's a question I'm sure you get a lot of heat for.
I do, yes. Even sometimes from my own family. I mean, the thing that always bothers Anne
How did you meet her? Through Red Eye?
Through Red Eye, yes. And I don't know why she took you know what? I always think about this a lot, and I think that one of the reasons that she first started tolerating me is because I wasn't a sycophant to her. And it wasn't because I was doing that deliberately. It just didn't occur to me, and I never thought that she would like me, period. And I think she somehow found that refreshing, because one thing I've definitely learned from Anne is that if you're out with her socially, it is not the people that hate her that she fears. It is the people that like her. Because as you will find, the people that don't like Anne do it very quickly. They'll come up, God forbid they want to spit in her face or something like that, but they'll say their piece and then they will leave just so that they can tell their friends that they told off Ann Coulter.
It's like when you tweet at someone something nasty and then block them immediately. So
yeah.
They can't reply.
Exactly.
The real life
That's a
equivalent,
perfect way of putting it. And so the problem is it's the people that really like her that stick around and hover at the table, and then after a while of talking, almost expect her to say, "Oh, sit down, join us," or something like that. And if that doesn't happen, it's even more awkward. She much prefers the haters, too. And of course, I wasn't a hater, but there would invariably be so many people at Fox News that just wanted to take up so much of her time and tell her how amazing she was. And I wasn't that guy. And I don't know. I think that was at least a starting off point. And then I don't know. And then I think she just liked me because I was easy to make fun of. I mean, that might have been part of it, too. I was a good punching bag.
There was this weird moment that I talk about in my upcoming book where she was on Kennedy. And the last question Kennedy asks her is, "Anne, are you fun?" And Anne goes, "I don't answer unserious questions." And Kenny's like, well, we have a lot of friends in common. They all say you are. She goes, "I don't answer unserious questions." I'm like, what the fuck? You're like Queen of the Trolls. You said you smell the bathhouse around Al Gore and that he's a fag, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Like, it seems so out of character. Can you explain that?
You know what? It's weird because a lot of times if you catch her on a bad moment, a bad week, a bad day, that will happen. And then other times she will roll with the punches like you can't believe it. And there is nothing that you could say that would either offend
I was on
her.
Varney with her and I clowned her hard and she loved it.
Exactly. And it's just depends on the date. It really does. And I definitely now see some of those social cues where I know that something that might want to come out of my mouth, I would not say at that particular moment, but then give it an hour and everything's fine. It's very much, it's up and down like the stock market as far as that's concerned.
Oh, the stock, let the market decide.
See, thank you.
Stocks,
I'm told again, emerging market mutual funds. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that was hardest for me about becoming an author was dealing with the constant rejection. Right.
Yeah.
And there's not even data to be like, you're getting rejected because X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Like the rejections would be from completely opposite thing. This is too boring or this is too fantastical. It's like I'm giving you the same input and I'm getting complete opposite output. How do you, as an actress, no matter how good you are, You're going to have to deal with it constantly.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how do you not get crazy?
You need a diluted amount of self-confidence,
Okay.
which I have always had. You have to stick to your guns, and know what you like. Similarly with headshots, I just got new headshots done. You can go to 50 different people and they will all say that their favorite is a different photo. There could be 50 different favorite photos. But it comes down to what you like, sticking to your brand, and just trusting that rejection is God's protection.
Is that a line?
I think so.
Okay.
Writing that down.
I think I saw that on a mug once.
Merchpump.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Jealous. We need mugs.
I know.
Our show is made for mugs.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just like if it's not their flavor, if it's not their cup of tea, then that's fine. You want people who support your work and believe in your work, and there will be someone who does if other people don't.
Is it the kind of thing where you see this? There's like only like 20 casting directors, and you develop relationships with them because you keep seeing them all the time?
Pretty much, yeah. I went in, I guess, about a year ago, TikTok. But this woman, I'd auditioned for her like twice. I took a class with her, and it was for a series regular for a pilot for CBS. It's called God Friended Me. They gave it to a younger girl who'd done more like stuff on Netflix. But I went in and I did my scenes and I left, and she goes, you're always so prepared, which to me is like the best compliment I could get.
When I give people advice, I've given talks on networking, I say, aspire to competence.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to be able to be excellent when you're young. If you're competent, you're at the 80th percentile. Because if I can rely on you, then there's so much off of my back.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And also, I think what I always try to think of is you might not be right for a role, but you can make a fan in the room when you audition for something. So I might not be right for that, or they might not like me for that, but if someone's watching my tape that's never seen me and they like me, win. It's just getting out there and having people read your book or read your article. What do you do, Bill?
Yeah. Wait, here.
Thanks for including me. Have you ever gone to an audition and prepped for the wrong role? Because I was reading, I forget who the actress was.
Are you asking my guest questions?
Sorry.
What is going on here? I thought
I
interview
got
Joanne.
Also, the answer is no.
It happens a lot.
Interview Joanne. Okay, shut up, Malice. I'm going to interview
This
Joanne.
time I'm sober.
Now you made me lose my... Oh, no, this is what it is. Like the first time I was on The Independents, which was the show with Kenny Matt Welch and Camille, it's like, oh my God, I'm on TV, right? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it's like no one really cares. Yeah. You know what I mean? So on the one hand, it's a big deal, check mark resume. And the other hand, it's like, it will not affect your life at all, right? Yeah. It's this weird dichotomy. So you were just like on Gotham, right? Yeah. But you have like one line. You're like reporter number one.
Totally.
Is it like, okay, check mark, I've proven I'm on TV. This is important in terms of resume and getting cast? Or is it like, you're one of a million?
It's definitely important to have that, especially because I did 4 of those episodes, so I'm technically a recurring.
Okay.
So that's big because then casting directors want to know that if they pitch you to a director...
It's just like publishing. It's like, who is this person?
She's have the clout. She's been on set before. She knows how to work with different directors.
They've asked her back.
Obviously, she's easy to work with because they've asked her back. So it's just about that. So like, I won't get a series regular role until I've then also done guest star roles. But I won't get the guest star roles until I have the co-star roles. And oftentimes you won't even get those because you haven't been in the room. Well, then how do you get in the room? It's like some sort of cryptic puzzle that no one really knows. And that's why, especially with actors, there isn't one way to do it. Because if there was, then everyone would follow that same line or that same pattern. But for everyone, it's a different story. And a lot of times people don't want to share their story or their tricks or the things they've learned because, yeah, you're working today, but you might not be working tomorrow.
And it might only have worked for them.
Yeah.
It's, like a one wish thing, and next time you try it, it completely fail. What would you say was your dream role?
Ooh, I think to play Natalie Portman in her biopic on A&E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a cute one. Mm-hmm. What about Natalie Portman do you like so much?
She's brilliant. She is a brilliant
She went to Yale.
She speaks 7 different languages. She's highly educated.
Great rapper.
And she's such a chameleon, whether she's doing a Boston accent or if she's she's speaking Hebrew. She's literally done it all in her films. And I think that that's really commendable and admirable.
Michael Malice here. I want to take a moment. Thank you guys for spending your hard-earned money with our sponsors. We work very hard to find products and services that you guys will love. and we appreciate the fans who support them. We also want to let you know, if you have a product or service that you think the Dear Readers would be into, hit us up. This is your chance to have me promote your business to some of the most hardcore fans on the planet. Here's how. If you go to gasdigitalnetwork.com/advertise and use show code WELCOME, they'll know that I sent you. That's gasdigital.com/advertise, show code WELCOME. And now, back to the show. One of the things to be a beauty queen and to be an actress is being personable.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really key. I'm sure there's lots of actresses who are stunningly gorgeous, and they know it, and they make sure everyone else knows it. And when they walk in the room, that director's not going to want to cast them because they're repellent. They're not likable.
Yeah.
It's off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
How would you advise people to be more personable? Is this something you think they can be taught?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's easy. Get a job in the service industry. I am not kidding.
Okay. Even for like a week or 2 weeks.
I have been working in restaurants since I was 16. Or whether it's working in retail. Everyone should, so they learn how to interact with other people, to play host, to be accommodating, even if you don't want to be there, even if you don't like the people, putting on a good face, finding something in them that you can maybe relate to get through it, and having an okay time because of it.
You know what I learned from Seinfeld? Seinfeld, when he used to get heckled, he would be like, all right, what's going on here? What's this really about? And basically have this little therapy session with the heckler, and they didn't know what to do. And like on Twitter, I'll get a lot of heat, and some people just really rip into me as hard as they can. They got all these check boxes. And it took me a long time, but it was a recent epiphany. This isn't about me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, man.
This is, I don't matter. If there exists a moron on Twitter, which is me, this has no effect on my life. There's plenty of morons on Twitter. We all agree. This is not in dispute. And if you happen to find one, how does this affect your life? So you're in the service, I did a book called Concierge Confidential. And the point is, when you're this person who has this huge negativity toward the server or the concierge, it's not about the server or the concierge. It's something in them. So that's like my advice to people is like, it's really not about you, even though it's directed in your direction.
Mm-hmm. My favorite line is, "Who hurt you?"
Yeah, yeah.
I said that once to a guy who was coming on to me at a bar and wouldn't leave me alone. I was like, "Who hurt you?"
What'd he say?
That you can't let go.
Ooh, what'd he say?
I didn't tip her, I'll tell you that much.
He ignored it. I mean, he was like a big, like wealthy guy at this bar that my boyfriend worked at, blatantly in front of my boyfriend, just hitting on me. Just like, "Who hurt you?" And then he's telling me about his son. I'm like, "You have a son? God, I hope he doesn't end up like you."
You said that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised you're surprised.
I want mean Joanne. This is what I like.
No, but I do it in this, like, I'm so caring kind of way.
Yeah.
Because I bet you no woman has ever spoken to this man like that before. He needed it.
I remember I got a call. I took a call to do a co-authoring gig. And the guy basically had some startup and was banging models, his words. And he thought this would be a great book, as if this is unique or something people can relate to or excited about. And I wasn't impressed in the slightest. I wasn't being mean, but I'm just like, this is going to be hard to sell. And he just lost it. Because again, maybe in his world, he's an alpha. But like, if we're nobodies, just because we've been on TV, it's like, you're not even there.
Yeah.
You're not even Patty Ann Brown, who is still an accomplished person.
Yeah.
But no one's stopping her in the street being like, "Oh my God, it's Patty Ann Brown. Let me give you a book deal."
Not having her sign one of her albums.
Yeah, right.
Those are my favorite kind of people.
Do you miss, can I ask you about one of your co-hosts?
Sure.
Is that secret?
Where do we go with this?
The first one.
Oh, no, well, I have no problem talking about it, and I know where you're going with this, and I will say, and this was before your time on Morning, I got a cease and desist, my first, after discussing the person that you're referencing. I suppose I can answer any question as long as I don't say said person's name, I think.
But
we got like a legit... Schmachel Schmarston.
Yeah. I don't want you to, if you're getting a cease and desist, I'm not interested.
Yeah, that was right. It was one of those things where the network had to deal with it more than me, but it threw me for a
you had a
loop.
cease and desist at Compound or at Fox?
Yeah, because I was discussing
from
certain
Fox?
things from her, but Fox was
CC. Okay, then we're gonna drop this. I'm sorry to the fans. I hate being cryptic, but yeah.
I didn't sign anything.
Well, you don't know her.
I don't. This is before me.
Yeah,
I'm sure you heard the stories, but yes, it was a learning experience. And without mentioning her name, I will say that Joanne, and I think you've either seen her. You've definitely seen her. We work near someone that reminds me, shares the same hallway, that reminds me a lot of this other person. And certain people in our network have this person on who may or may not be very, very unbalanced. And it very much bothers me.
Wait, I thought she's in France.
No, but there's a person just like her that works across from us on compound.
Got it.
That may or may not have some sort of racket going as far as things she sells across the street. And I am very sensitive to that because these type of people snap just like that. And so it's all fun and games until it's not. And this person sometimes comes on various shows of ours. She will never be on our show because I know how this movie ends, and it's never good. And I know that type of person because of what I went through on the early days of Red Eye with other people. I'll leave it at that. As cryptic as that was.
Your job for years was bands with all different personality types, many of whom were stuffed shirts, right?
Yes.
I ask Kumia this question. Can you give advice to people to how to be better in an interview and have that wit? Because I always did great at job interviews because at a certain point, your resume, and I'm sure same thing with you in acting, your resume gets you, well, it's different because you have to do the role, but your resume gets you in the door. Once you're in the door, there is in many ways a level playing field, right? Or at least they're receptive to you. If you have that personality, you're so far ahead of everybody else because you want to work with people that you enjoy talking to, or at least it's not work talking to.
Well, as much as every time I say, as much as I hate the cliche, it's just a cliche I use all the time, so it's almost like a buffer. But the whole reading the room thing, I think I don't even know if that can be taught, but like going back to your thing about...
Break it down to how you do it mentally.
I can usually tell, I'm usually okay. I mean, going back to what you said about Anne, about like her interaction with Kennedy and how that sort of went nowhere, and she's like, I don't answer this. Like, I'm good at being able to see how far I can take it with someone or whether or not to do it at all.
I almost got hit in North Korea because I was trolling some guy on the tour so hard. I never told that story, but yeah.
I want to hear that.
It's a long story. You have to know the line.
Yes, and a lot of it's social cues, another cliche, and it's like even like initial things that you might say that might be borderline offensive. Reading how they react to that can tell you exactly what path you need to go on after that, and a lot of people don't.
What do you mean specifically? What?
A flinch. I mean, just sort of a wince or anything like that. Like just social cues. I mean, sometimes I wonder if like there's like things about me that are a little Aspergery, but I can read social cues, and that is certainly not Aspergery. And that's a big thing right there. I mean, knowing how far to take things and when to.
Well, I think the best way if people want to get better at interviews, to what you're saying, take an improv class. I know that sounds so dumb, but it's just a matter of not knowing what's going to be thrown at you, following someone else's lead, figuring out together what that main goal is, and making them laugh if you can. I mean, that's what's going to be memorable, is someone who can roll with the punches, still speak well and know what they want to contribute, but then also know how to read people and how to be entertaining.
Yeah, I think following someone's lead is the best piece of advice you give, even in terms of persuasion. For example, if you're talking to a hardcore Democrat and they're like, blah, 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 Trump's a racist. If you start saying, I agree he's a racist, but no. You're just dismissing their entire context. Whereas if you're meeting them at issues that they find important, okay, you think he's a racist. What are good mechanisms for fighting racism in America? Obviously, just voting for one party is not going to do it. That hasn't done. Then they're listening to you. But if you're just like, I know your concerns. Here's what I want to talk about. There's a butting of heads.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I used to do, and I've stopped because people are starting to see through it, or maybe it's a tactic that others use a lot, is why do you think that? And that used to kind of work, but they would, because they would be forced to explain a lot of times they couldn't. But I've been I do that now, and it hasn't worked as it used to. I feel like that's a tactic that a lot of people.
Maybe if you just change it to like, ooh, tell me more.
Yeah.
You seem to be really passionate
or
about
how
this.
so?
Yeah, that's good. Like I'm not an actor though, so I can't hide it if I have disdain for something. That
I
someone
hide
said.
my disdain every morning.
Stop staring at me like
From 10:30 to 11:30.
On
There's
Comp-
my camera. From 10:30 to 11:30 on Compound Media.
No, at least she
Morning
plugged.
with Bill and Joanne.
A high-pitched voice is the thing that freaks me out.
Was it weird working with Bill? Like he started the show by himself.
Yeah.
Pretend like I'm not here.
All the stories I heard about you were true.
Had you had much interaction before?
We had been on, I think, 2 or 3 episodes of Red Eye
Okay,
together.
that's it.
That was it.
And you've
Ask
heard all
me
the
how many of
stories.
them I remember.
And then I had
Is that
been
the white
out-
power symbol you just gave?
That's
Everyone,
okay.
That's the white power symbol. Did you not know
Don't
this?
put that on me.
Everyone
Oh,
gets-
actually, yeah, you're right. That
I
is.
know.
Oh, now I gotta stop doing
Keep doing it, Bill. Keep doing it.
By the way,
Damn
my
it.
30th birthday, my friend Amanda kept doing this in photos for 30, and I was like, "Do you know what you're doing?" And she's like, "What?
It's a troll, though. Did you not know it's a troll?
What's a troll?"
That. 4chan started that as a joke.
Oh,
And then they said, "Oh, the 3 fingers are the W and the circle's the P," and they ran with it.
I love that.
That's amazing.
And then it became not a troll because people thought it was real,
I thought you meant like from the movie Trolls.
or Troll 2.
Electric Boogaloo, I believe is the full
There's
title.
a documentary about the making of Troll 2.
Oh, fun.
That is a documentary that needed to be made.
It was about the worst movie that ever made.
Original Troll, not
Not-
worthy.
Troll 2 has nothing to do with Troll. Yeah, they have nothing to do
That
with comics.
is, boy, we are going down the rabbit hole right now.
That's where the trolls are.
But yeah, no, I had met Bill a few times out at bars, which he probably doesn't remember.
I do remember. I remember the first time I met you socially. It was on Tom
yeah.
O'Connor's bar crawl.
Bar crawl. Mm-hmm. Beer
She was
crawl.
wearing her tiara, which I thought was very odd.
Well, she had it surgically attached. Yes. Wait, are you a good drinker? Do you know how to put them down?
You can actually.
Yes and no. I can, but I get to a point where I'll just leave and I won't say goodbye.
Irish goodbye.
Oh yeah.
And I go home and I'll vomit. I don't black out. I just get sick if I drink.
What
too
kind of
much.
drunk are you?
I have friends tell me I'm a lot of fun, more fun when I'm drunk, which is kind of an insult, but I'll take it.
Bill, what are you like when you're sober?
God, I'm trying to remember.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Oh, never cross a bridge drunk. I can't emphasize that.
What happened? Is there...
No, I'm kidding. But the other thing I'll say is like we talk about the show a lot, but her jersey comes out when she's drinking. Ooh. Yeah. Oh
You get
yeah. It's
feisty?
buried in there somewhere,
Just
but like
more of the accent
yes.
comes out, and
Oh, yeah.
sometimes I'll get gossipy a little more.
What kind of
And she's more
accents do you
animated.
know how to do as an actress? There's got to be some. None?
So the running joke on our show is that I'm awful. I am awful
That's
at
right.
accents.
She was doing this Irish accent. It was Jamaican.
But that's the thing.
It was really bad. It was a really good Jamaican accent.
So
It
I
went
was-
from a Lucky Charms commercial to a Red Stripe commercial.
Yeah.
like
I was
that.
really awful at
forgot about
doing
this.
Irish accents. So then I spent a long time watching videos of Saoirse Ronan so I could learn it. So then now that's all I can do. I did it
You
today.
did it today, yeah.
Or was that more Scottish?
You just used it as an excuse. She was doing Clyde Barrow's poem that
I
was
was
just
reading a
released, and
poem written by Clyde of Bonnie and Clyde.
And for
And then I just start turning into Liam Neeson.
You'll never get my child.
Liam Neeson if he had a stroke.
She was taken. My daughter.
Who was it who had that joke about why didn't Jussie Smollett just go to Liam Neeson's neighborhood?
Oh yeah, it was.
Oh my God, I died. Oh, that was
Oh, it was
Charles Barkley.
Barkley, yes.
Yeah. Like, this is the funniest.
That is good.
I love it when people Venn diagram.
So good.
Oh, that TNT halftime show they do is so good. Barkley is a national treasure.
Where would I be without my Heshy socks? Barefoot and pregnant. That's right. If you go to HESHIsocks.com and use promo code WELCOME30, you get 30% off. Why do I love Heshy socks so much? Because they've got all the styles you want. They've got the basic stuff. They've got the fashiony stuff. You wear them with dress shoes. You wear them with sneakers. They're thick. They've got cushioning in the footbed, the heel and the toe, so it's like wearing pillows for your feet. I wear them all over my house. At the same time, they're antimicrobial, and they have high-end Pima cotton, so it's breathable. So they're thick, but they don't make your feet sweat. If you're walking around in your Heshy socks, you're walking with a little bit of a beat to your step. If you go to HESHIsocks.com and use promo code WELCOME30, you'll be telling me you are welcome. Let me ask you this, Joanne.
Yeah.
Do you think women as a whole are less funny than men?
Yeah.
Why do you
Because they
think
were
that is?
told to be.
Oh. Were you encouraged to be funny growing up?
No. But I think I always admired people who were. And so I think I learned a lot of comedy from men. I loved watching Mr. Bean growing up.
Okay.
Rowan Atkinson. But I did also love I Love Lucy. Lucille. I thought she was great.
So you like that broad, slapsticky kind of humor.
I do. And I think that's why I make a lot of weird faces. A lot of times I can't control what my face does just because that's what I learned.
That's Bell's palsy for you.
God. But yeah, no, I've always loved humor, but I've always loved smart humor. So that's why I was never really into the whole, as much as I like slapstick, not into really the Three Stooges. I'm not into that kind of physical comedy or even like Jackass. I'm not into that kind of stuff or like Impractical Jokers. I don't like humor that makes other people uncomfortable.
That's the best. Andy Kaufman, who we met.
Even America's Funniest Home Videos, that makes me uncomfortable.
That's the best. Andy Kaufman wrote a script for ABC, a pilot, per his contract. And first of all, they said this character you wrote for yourself is too retarded. Number one. That was the quote. And number two, they said, this is like Laurel and Hardy. Give us something good, like Laverne and Shirley. And he was like, oh my God, this is so transcendently beautiful that a network comedy executive is saying this with a straight face.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely amazing. Who are your like female comedy acting role models?
In comedy, my role models. You know, I love Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, Bridesmaids.
But especially because she has made this transition from these really funny, shticky roles to serious dramas. She's doing a lot of indie films now. And she is a talented actress. And that's the other thing. To be really good at comedy, you are a talented actor.
Oh, yeah.
To pull it off well and to be that committed and convincing to a role. Melissa McCarthy, same thing.
You know who's the queen for me?
Who?
Parker Posey.
Oh, God,
she's
yes.
great.
Waiting
But
for Guffman is one of my favorite
But she does comedy
films.
and also does drama effortlessly.
Yeah.
And Party Girl is possibly the best time capsule
Because
of
there's
90s
always
New York.
there's a little sadness
Oh, yeah.
in all of these characters. Even Schitt's Creek right now is one of my favorite shows on. Eugene, is it Levy or Levy?
I think it's
Because Andy Levy ruined it. for me.
Yeah, I think it is Levy.
It's just, you could just say Jew.
Eugene Levy and his son wrote it. They're both in it. And it's very, Catherine O'Hara, I mean, she is
she's a gem.
amazing. And I knew her first from Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funny, but not really. I was like, she's the serious mom who's scared about her kid being left at home. But her in all of those Christopher Guest movies and now doing this, she is hysterical. She is beautiful. She is aging so well because she's showing her age, which I think so many actresses don't want to do.
Yeah, if you're 50
love
and
her.
have all this work done, you don't look young. You just look like 50 with all this work done. They all look the same.
There is an amazing side-by-side, I think we might have run on the show, of Nicole Kidman and her sister. And her sister is like 5 years younger than her, but her sister just lives her life in Australia and has never had all of the crap, the industrial sewage that Nicole Kidman has put into her face. And it is unbelievable. Her sister just aged naturally, and then there's Nicole Kidman, who basically looks like she's wearing a Nicole Kidman mask at this point. And
She seems happy.
Whenever can you tell?
Whenever I look at Nicole Kidman, I'm like, this person radiates joy.
Oh, man. I think it takes I think her big mistake was Marin. Well, actually, I
That
guess
wasn't a mistake.
career-wise.
Tom
yeah,
Cruise,
it
that was
was.
yeah.
But I think that kind of sucked out whatever little soul
I
she
think
had.
it was Spy Magazine who had this piece about, like, why didn't people say Nicole Kidman's a beard? She looks so happy. And there's all these photos of her and Tom Cruise, like, on the red carpet, and he's all like this, and she's all like, I just seen a funeral kind of thing.
Yeah. But Botox will do that to you.
Would you ever do it?
I don't think Botox. I've been thinking about fillers.
Okay.
As my face starts to like sag a little bit, it just kind of
This isn't so good.
gives a little
Well-
extra. But you need money for that. So not now.
Well, she's sick of this story, but the thing that always really scared me about Botox was a person that we all know. I'll say her name afterwards. She was at Fox News. She was 25. 25. I sound like Michael Caine. She was only 16. She was 25 and she started
that was
doing
Liam Neeson.
Botox.
I thought that was your Liam Neeson.
I'm
better.
not good with the accents either.
Was that a Jamaican accent?
And she had a bad dose. And so everyone thought that she went to rehab, which was actually odd because she did end up doing that as well. But she had basically the Bell's palsy thing that happens with a bad batch of Botox, where she was Phantom of the Opera for well over a month. And just her entire face drooped. And even now to this day, due to that bad batch of botulism that was injected to her face, if you notice her on air, one of her eyebrows is raised almost Joker level on her face, and that never fixed
I've got a great punchline, which I'm not going to give on the air out of respect.
Well, there's no respect because we haven't mentioned the
trust
name.
me on this one. This is a bad one.
Great.
But
You can tell us after, and then I'll tweet
yes.
it.
Yeah.
But that always scared me. And the other thing with Botox is we don't know what the long-term repercussions are of it. It's still so new that we're not really sure what 30, 40 years down the line that is going to do to you. And
we do. It makes you insane
okay.
and envious of the young.
Yeah, Bill has always been like a naturalist and just like everything organic.
All right, maybe I didn't shower.
As you've gotten older, you're 30, right? How old are you? 30?
30.
Yeah. Do you go out for different roles? Do you get sent out for different roles?
That's the thing now. I think I am entering young mom category.
Okay.
Which
like Matt Shanamick on Riverdale?
Yeah, and like
it would be young hot mom.
It makes sense.
It's MILF.
Because,
actually, the role is MILF. Let's be honest.
Well, my friends from home, they are young moms. They're on their second kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mostly like for commercial work, young mom. Television, I think I would still be late 20s is kind of how I read. And a lot of the roles I go for aren't moms. They're like high intelligence, high status positions. So like lawyer,
that is a stretch.
Reporter,
get the shoulder pads ready.
People focused on career
Yeah.
more, which I get. I relate to that.
Yeah, you know how to put on a blazer and be like, okay,
give me a shoulder pad.
Yeah.
Give me two.
What would be
when you look like a little linebacker?
I'm so glad shoulder pads came back. I'm such an 80s person.
I never liked them. Ugh.
You're out of your mind. What would you say would be your dream role?
Ooh, I would say Mila Kunis in her biopic for Lifetime.
She is Russian.
Yeah, I think she's Ukrainian, which I am. Yeah.
Well, you're part Ukrainian.
Part Ukrainian, yeah. I'm not like legit like
No,
her.
I was born there. She speaks it.
But a lot of people have told me that I look like her. I also think she's super funny.
I don't see it at all. Do you see the resemblance?
I've said that many times.
I don't see it at all, Jono.
I think she's a combination.
Yes, I do think you're prettier.
She's a combination of Mila.
You know why? Because Eastern European women, to me, are repellent because I know they're evil.
Well, thank you. But she's got those big Eastern European eyes like Mila.
Yeah, she looks like a fly. In a good way. She's gorgeous.
But like in an evil way.
Yeah, she has an evilness about her.
Oh, yeah. It's like a very soulless
But her story is crazy. Like, she came over here when she was about 14, and that's when she got the job on that 70s show. She lied about her age.
Oh.
So I think she was like 14 or 15 when she first started filming that show.
So I just saw your tweet last night, and after I saw your tweet, I started doing it. I'm watching the Leaving Neverland documentary.
It is.
How
far are you into it?
I'm only 40 minutes into it.
It gets worse and worse.
I'm sure. He's not fucking them yet.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Yeah, Richie Redding said that on the show. He's like, it takes an hour before we get to penetration. But it's, by the way, after the first part, you realize there's a whole other part two that you've got to sit through, and the ordeal of it all. Like, pedophilia is not a great way to spend a Sunday. I cashed out about 40 minutes into it then, and I finished a little bit of it
save it for a depressing Monday.
I really want it to be all a lie. Like, I had Juanita Broderick on this show, and she was talking about Bill Clinton raping her, like literal rape. And I totally believe her because, and you could appreciate this as an actress, her affect was totally flat and normal. She was discussing it. This happened 30 years ago, but she was crying. So there's that disconnect between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this person's telling the truth and reliving a trauma that they've dealt with, but on some level, you never fully deal with it. And there are all these photos of him with the kids. And it's like these photos could look really, really sweet or the most disturbing thing on earth.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's these photo shoots. He's got his arm around the kid. They're both smiling.
Yeah.
And the narration's like, oh, this is him. We became a couple. And I'm just like, oh, my God.
And just the amount of abnormal things that fame somehow normalizes is astounding. I just don't care how much of a superstar you are. There was nothing right
It's
about
this
anything
God
he requested.
complex, and you wonder though how much we are to blame for that. You know, he felt untouchable
Jackson's your
because
fault. But he was quite touchable, I assure you.
Quite touchable. No, but we made him that way, kind of. Don't you think?
It's just, but
Get on the mic, Bill, like a professional. You know we have mics here, right?
Sorry, I'm such not a pro. The go-to with Michael Jackson is what? He never had a childhood. You guys, the reason that he's like this is because he's just acting out a childhood he never had.
That's not how it works.
No,
like, if you never had a child, you don't want to fuck kids.
Like, it's, for some reason, we all seem to have bought that line for way too long.
Well, and if there's anything I learned from Law & Order SVU.
Like everything you learned from
them. A lot of things.
You've been on.
I have, but they cut my scene.
Oh, you got
which
paid?
Which means I could do another show. I did get paid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of times, the men who rape little boys were often the same thing happened to them when they were young.
Yeah.
So
they're like, hey, this is great.
Do you know, like...
Good idea. Thanks, Dad.
I don't know why. I'm not a doctor.
The most fucked up story I've ever read in my life, and I'm the North Korea guy. This is
I was going to say, this is saying
fucked up story I've ever read in my life. And it was on Oprah. Some girl was being raped by her brother, older brother. She went and told her dad, and he started raping her. And it's like, at a certain point that you have to see the humor and the absurd, it's like, did this give him permission? Did this give him the idea? Was it like, well, you know, all I got to do is outrun my son? It's just so bizarre to me.
Oh, man. That's such a more of a Maury Povich plotline than an Oprah one. I'm surprised she had that particular episode.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I did not expect the episode to go in this direction.
Well, and then the other thing, well, speaking of Oprah, and often I do, is that...
No, you prefer Gail.
Huh? Oh, you know I'm a Gail guy. You know,
such a hipster. You probably haven't heard of her.
That she's sort of backtracking too, because originally Oprah kind of came out after this documentary first aired saying, you know, we need to look at the people that were making this happen, the people that work for Michael Jackson. They're just as culpable. And now all of a sudden she's backtracking a little bit and she's like, I'm not saying I'm on the side of the kids or anything like that. And like, because of all the venom she got from Michael Jackson fans. And it's just, the whole thing is mind melting, because the more you watch this, the more you are just more and more convinced of his guilt.
But I feel like we can say that he is both a brilliant performer and a child abuser.
He's a brilliant performer on stage and off.
Yeah.
You can be both things. And I think it's okay to compartmentalize those and be like, I love his music and I hate what he did in his personal life. Right?
Yeah,
like
the thing that I find disturbing is and we're going to change the subject immediately. It's not like
I wanted this to be all pedophilia.
Yeah,
all the
he
time.
got drunk and something happened. It was a very long process. So that means there's intent and connivingness to it.
Yes.
And that, to me, is really sinister.
Yeah.
He's laying the groundwork, blah, blah, blah.
With the case of the kid that was in the Pepsi ad, no spoiler alerts, it was like a 6-month to a year process before he even got him into bed. I mean, this was methodical in ways I've never even really heard of.
It was also racist that he clearly preferred white children.
Oh, completely. And I mean, has it been confirmed that his kids are certainly not his kids? Because, I mean, I always go back, that has been confirmed
has
then.
It?
I don't know.
I mean,
because for a while they were trying to maintain that indeed that they were DNA linked to him.
Has Lisa Marie said anything about all this? She must have some kind of check. But why would she need a check? She's rich.
Yeah, no kidding. And that Elvis money goes pretty far.
Yeah. I
don't know. But for a while, I do know that he was trying to maintain that those were of his bloodline, and that's another thing. Like, we just would. I was about to say swallow. I'm not that. We would buy so much of Michael Jackson's bullshit, and that in particular, it's just like you look at these kids. I don't care how much plastic surgery you have. African American DNA is still African American DNA.
Yeah, but mulatto kids are gorgeous. Mixed race kids
they absolutely are. Those kids are not. Those kids are just white. I'm talking about his kids. Those are not.
Here's the other thing. Because Paris is so good looking, and I'm sorry to be mean, Debbie Rowe is not a looker. It doesn't
Oh,
look...
yeah.
Are we sure she's the mom or is she just a
I
surrogate?
don't know if we are. I mean, the whole thing's sketchy. And I feel like the only reason he got a girl was to sort of take the spotlight off of the fact that he had 2 boys.
One of my favorite tweets that I did last year was Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, had this whole comment about basically he was blithely discussing, well, if the kid's born and his deformities, we're just going to kill it, blah, blah, blah. It was this very matter-of-factness that was very disturbing. And I said, the difference between Ralph Northam and Michael Jackson is that Michael Jackson dangles a baby over a balcony, he pulls it back to safety. And then 2 days later, they found a photo of him in blackface, and everyone forgot about that interview. Yeah. Okay, it is time for the last question.
Okay.
I'll ask Bill first.
Okay.
What was your favorite part of the interview?
My favorite part of the interview was when you asked me about Ann Coulter.
Okay. Joanne, same question.
Exactly.
What was your favorite part of the interview?
When I got to talk.
You are welcome. I want to tell you guys about a new podcast we have here on the network. It's called the Think Tank Podcast with Tank Sinatra. Oh, I just got that. It's like Frank Sinatra Jr.
What's up, guys? It's Tank Sinatra. Subscribe right now so you never miss an episode of the only show that will reveal untold stories and life strategies from some of the most compelling people in the world. Over the course of being in recovery for 16 years, bodybuilding for 25 years, and building an Instagram following from 0 to 3 million, I've formed relationships with some of the most famous and interesting people in the world. This is why I've created the Think Tank. Using humor and genuine curiosity, I get these people to open up and reveal another side of themselves and their personal journeys that you will not hear anywhere else. You'll gain tools and insights each week so that you can build a life that you deserve. Subscribe right now to the Think Tank Podcast, or I'm going to put you in a headlock.